All right, the Detroit Lions just had their press conference this morning, and obviously the defensive line depth just took another hit. It may be one that the Lions can absorb right now without any real issues or setbacks, as Dan Campbell confirmed this morning that defensive end and defensive tackle Josh Paschal will not be ready to hit the season. As was expected, he was going to be ready week 1 or shortly after week 1. I heard Monday, Tuesday, and now that's been pushed back a little bit. It's extending, I guess, a frustrating injury saga that's really plagued the former second-round pick in Josh Paschal since his arrival in Detroit. It's just been a myriad of injuries and health concerns, also related to his post-cancer stuff that he has dealt with since Kentucky. The exact quote from Dan Campbell this morning is, "I think Paschal could be a little later than we hoped." And that could sting a little bit. So we'll dive into the video here of what he has said this morning right now, and then I'll be back to kind of give you all of the information that you're looking for as far as what are the Lions going to do, who's on the roster, who are they bringing in that could potentially fix this issue temporarily. Here we go with Dan Campbell.
You activated Wingo last practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, when a guy's been out that long, you got these roster decisions coming out, how do you, factor in the vision of what he can contribute right away as you're kind of weighing what you need to do at that position?
It can be tough. It's hard, because there's really not enough time. But he's done all he can do to this point. Now it's time for football to see where he's at. And it's tough. It's tough. There's no easy answer to that. I don't know if we can find out fast enough. So we gotta make a decision there. And he's doing individual 7-on-7 stuff, or not 7-on-7, but some individual, some group. He's not going to get any team this week, so that makes it even harder. But we'll see. We'll see. At some point, we're going to need him.
Talking about Makai Wingo.
Related to that, you've said multiple times that Pascal will probably be ready to get back practicing in September. How do you weigh that? Is that do you want to let him miss those first 4 games and go with guys that put the work in, or is it a situation where he might be back early enough that you want to keep him on the roster?
Good question. I think Pascal could be a little later than we'd hoped. So, that could sting a little bit. It also cleans it up, too. At least you're not hoping and waiting and whatever else.
And Brett has said in multiple interviews just how difficult it's going to be for young developing players to make this roster with how good the starters are in the competition.
Okay, so, really, it's cut and dry, right? It's going to sting a little bit. It's a little bit later than they hoped. The question was by Justin Rogers, is this somebody that you're going to just leave on the roster or potentially miss the first 4 weeks? Like Dan said, it cleans it up a little bit because now they know it's potentially going to linger longer than the first 4 weeks. And if that's the case, well, then I guess the journey for Josh Paschal continues in the same way that it's been since he's been here. And now there's some younger guys that are potentially going to make this roster immediately. And there's also the outside chance that the Lions look to bring somebody in as other teams are making cuts. I know what you're thinking. Za'Darius Smith, Trey Hendrickson, right? Just push that out of your head. You leave me in the comments below right now why you think that is so important and how do you think that's going to fix this team for the future. It's not just one and done, or actually it is one and done. If you do that, you're going to have one run, and if you miss, you're done. You're done for many years because you're not going to be able to retain the guys that you wanted to retain. But let's walk through this. Josh Paschal's NFL journey, it began with promise, right? And pedigree. The guy was one of the best, edge rushers at Kentucky, but also in college. He had a phenomenal career. That's why he was drafted by Brad Holmes. He was immediately going to be heralded, for his versatility, his flexibility, the leadership qualities, the relentless motor, the interior and exterior flexibility. He was expected to be a foundational piece for this defense rebuild back in 2022. High character, high effort player. He would complement Aiden Hutchinson clearly, but bringing the juice in the pass rush was also expected. Now, he was not used in the pass rushes primarily outside on the edge until last season, when obviously injuries put him out there. He was primarily used inside the tackles as a defensive tackle. He just had the ability to get after the quarterback. Now, since arriving in the old Motown here, he's had a career that's been defined by more rehab than reps, unfortunately. Here's a quick injury timeline for you. 2022 rookie season, he had a sports hernia. He missed the first 5 games, flashed great potential late in the year, but never really found his rhythm. Okay? That's a rookie. Tends to happen that way. 23, sophomore season. Knee injury. Sidelined Paschal for a good chunk of the season, and then he returned. Struggled to carve out a defined role in what was a crowded edge room back in 2023. 2025. Pascal is now on the NFI list with an undisclosed issue. Obviously, Dan Campbell just confirmed this morning that it's going to be a minute, and it's probably going to be more than the first 4 games. So is he caught in a numbers game? You know, do we have a major issue brewing in the edge room simply because there's just too many guys? That could be an issue, right? The Lions' edge position is suddenly deep, thin, and competitive all at the same time. I know deep and thin doesn't make sense, but it kind of does. And let me walk you through what I mean and what the situation is right now and why this really shouldn't set off alarms. You know, this isn't a 5-alarm fire right now in Detroit at all. Calm down, right? Just calm the F down. It's not that big of a deal. You don't need to be on the phone to Hawaii, to Zadarius Smith, or Costa Rica, wherever he is, swimming in a pool with mountains and volcanoes behind him. Like, he's chilling. He's fine. He ain't going nowhere. Let's walk through this. Aiden Hutchinson is the unquestioned star. We know that. Marcus Davenport, when healthy, he's penciled in to be the other starter, and also a really damn good football player. And then there's El-Quadin Muhammad. This season, bulked up 10 pounds, has really shown some incredible flash, very quietly becoming one of the most consistent performers in camp and scrimmages, earned some first-team reps. He's drawing praise, obviously, from Calvin Shepard and from Dan Campbell, just for being this tough, relentless football player who's been improving since he's been here, especially with his run defense, which was a bit questionable last season. He is also performing better in that aspect of his game. He's just been a menace in joint practices. I wish I was there right now. Eric sent me tickets, just didn't have a chance to get out today. Have some other things that I'm working on health-wise that just prevented me to go today. But seamlessly, I mean, when you have Hutchinson and Davenport in the game, it would have been nice to have Pascal and Wingo, which now Wingo's back in the fold. But as Dan Campbell said, look, man, there's just not enough time right now. Like, we don't know what he's going to be able to do. So my question would be, why the hell did you get him off the list then? Right? Why did you bring Wingo back if you don't know what he's going to be able to do? And I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But Muhammad's hybrid ability, it really makes him a lock for this 53. So he's set. There's 3. And then you have Isaac Ukwu, right? Over, I don't know, the last couple weeks, he's really kind of jumped up this roster a little bit. Once a practice squad elevation, turned into a preseason standout. He's also added 10 pounds this year. And he's now playing both edge and 4-eye technique. He earned a 83.3 PFF grade versus Miami in the preseason. He notched a sack on Zach Wilson. Obviously, the coaches love his versatility, power rush, edge setting ability, but an open roster spot, that's kind of trending down at this point. Even with Josh Paschal not coming back, the roster spots were really slim anyway. So Ukwu is kind of on the outside looking in right now, and the problem for the Lions this season is players like Ukwu could be cut, and they're going to get picked up. Absolutely going to get picked up. So it's playing this game that they're going to have to play. Then you have Keith Cooper, right? Undrafted, but not unnoticed. Keith Cooper out of Houston. He's really transferred into the league and flashed some inside-out versatility, the positional villain that Brad Holmes really covets, violent hands, inclusive of this push-pull technique that it's a savvy vet move, right? You don't see this very often from rookies, but he's used it in-game. He's used it in scrimmage. We've seen it in practice. You just don't see young guys doing this. Lions gave him a big UDFA investment, and now he's battling for a final edge spot. So when you look at just those, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, right? Keith Cooper is one you might want to retain because he's a rook. And if you put him through waivers, he's probably gone. Isaac Ukwu could be somebody you want to keep because he's second-year player, I think. So he would probably get picked up. So then you go back to guys like, El-Quadin Muhammad, he's a vet. Well, he could clearly stick around with a handshake deal on the practice squad, and then you just elevate him as you need him. You sign him to the 53 at some point, right? So that's just one option. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's just one option. But let's go a little bit further. We brought in Tyleik Williams this year. Defensive tackle can also play out on the edge. He's looked tremendous so far. He's obviously taken over for what Ali McNeil is leaving behind until Ali McNeil gets ready to come back. The Lions also brought in a vet in Roy Lopez. Clearly not somebody you're going to put on the practice squad to stash him because he's a vet, but he's going to be a vital piece to the defensive line rotation this year. Not so much playing on the outside, but he's part of it. He's part of that equation of, are we keeping 10? Are we keeping 9? Are we keeping 11? Are we keeping 12 along the defensive line? But Lopez has been a practice standout. I mean, so far through camp, coaches and the media have both praised his pad level, leverage, hand usage. And this is all rooted from his wrestling background, right? This guy was a wrestler, so he's utilizing all of these different things that he's learned, along his way through life. He's been a consistent force in joint practices. Again, I really wish I was there today. I'm dreading the fact that I had to get injections yesterday. Obviously, Lopez isn't going anywhere. So it's a deep line, right? Pat O'Connor, there's another guy that was, given our offense's fits last year, huge reason why this defense was able to continue to help our team win last season when we were down, 13 guys on the defense or whatever to IR. Now, the definition of survival mode, it's turned on right now for Pat O'Connor. He's been everywhere this camp. Nose, 3-tech, big end, even offering to play blocking tight end if needed. Like, Pat don't care. He just wants to play football, man. Put me in, coach. Wherever you need me, dude, I'm there. Now, he's taken first-team reps this year. He's also earned praise, obviously, for his versatility and his motor. Dan Campbell calls him the jack of all trades. O'Connor's adaptability might be his ticket to win week 1 snaps, clearly. Then you have Chris Smith, a Harvard and Notre Dame product, smart dude, super smart, pre-med brain, trench toughness. The guy's an animal in there. He's logged snaps in 5 games last season. He also re-signed on a 1-year deal this year. But reliable rotation piece. Again, someone that you can plug anywhere. I think of gap integrity when I think of Chris Smith over splash plays. He's not going to bounce up in your stat sheets, right? But he's going to help everybody else around him do their job. And then what about Miles Adams? We poached him off the Hawks practice squad last season. We brought in like 3 guys in one day. And he was one of them. And he logged a sack in his first game as a Lion. Looked great, looked fast, right? I watched him this preseason, and he's just bouncing off that line, man. I almost thought he was, jumping off sides a little bit, but he gets off the line so quick and has such good bull rush ability, and he's shifty, man. He uses that body to get around blockers. Coaches say he's had a pretty good camp so far. Now, I think he's had a better camp than just pretty good, but they're the coaches. Backup DT role, for sure. Why am I mentioning all these guys with Josh Paschal? Because I just mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that are in camp, right? And they just added Wingo back. That's 10. The Lions rarely, if ever, keep more than 10. You could see 11 or 12. It's rare for the Lions, but you could see that. So stashing Josh Paschal, letting him sit for the first 4 or 5 weeks is not going to hurt this team. It's unlikely that the guys beyond Marcus Davenport, Aiden Hutchinson, Tyleek Williams, I didn't even mention DJ Reader, so there's 11. DJ Reader, it's going to be not very common that beyond those guys, there's going to be a ton of reps needed. Sure, you want good rotation. You want guys to get rest. But Josh Paschal is not throwing a wrench into this whole deal right now. He's really not. He's throwing a wrench when he comes back. That's the problem. So since 2013 or since 2023, the Detroit Lions have followed a remarkably consistent roster blueprint, right? 2025 is no exception. It really isn't. Brad Holmes has built this core that is stable, right? And it's a strategic, structurally familiar system that he does every season. The positional breakdowns, they really haven't shifted much as far as how many guys they're keeping at each level, at least over the last 3 seasons. And they were kind of asked some questions like this. Obviously, I talked about it over the past couple of days in some of the live streams, and now some of those questions are appearing from some of the media guys, right, in the room. And I'm glad that they're asking these questions because it's something that I've talked about that we haven't had definitive answers on, but I've seen it, right? And based on what Brad and Dan have said in the past, I get it. I understand what they're trying to do. It doesn't mean I know what they're doing. It just means I understand it, right? I get it. But if you even go back to 21 and 2022, that's where I think that, the Lions were in full acquisitional mode and draft picks weren't just developmental pieces anymore. These were immediate contributors to the team. But since 23, 24, right, those years for the roster were very tough to make already, especially after 23. One of the best drafts that Brad had. Immediately adding, 4 starters to your roster, right, in the first 2 rounds. Crazy. Just a crazy draft for Brad Holmes. I'm saying all of this, right? Because right now, this team is hard to make. All right, this roster is tough to crack. And even though with the guys that have a ton of positional flexibility right now, that offer the team more from a contribution standpoint, there's still a place for a guy like Josh Paschal. He's needed. And I will tell you this definitively. If the Lions decided to trade him, he would be traded. Somebody would want him. If they cut him, somebody will pick him up immediately. Every team needs a player like Josh Paschal when healthy, right? When he's healthy, he's exactly what you need from a rotational piece. He's a guy that's going to bring his lunch pail. He's going to put his head down and he's going to go to work. He doesn't care about being the number one guy on the team. He cares about doing his damn job and helping his team win. That's what he's all about. That's Josh Paschal. And he will be back. And he will help this team win. He has not really had a ton of opportunity to play alongside Davenport or Aiden Hutchinson a whole lot. So you give him now an opportunity with DJ Reader, Aiden Hutchinson, Tyleek Williams, and Josh Paschal. You are going to see some amazing things happen with this defense. Josh Paschal's going nowhere. And no, we do not need to bring in Zadarius Smith right now. And Trey Hendrickson is so far away from a trade with the Lions, it's not even funny. So that's it. That's your update for the Detroit Lions. I wanted to walk you through some of the roster implications here on what can happen, with Josh Paschal, obviously going to have to stay out for the first 4 games and what that means, from a active pup NFI perspective. I guess to kind of break it down a little bit further when the Lions made moves this week and bringing back Mekhi Wingo and then Khalil Dorsey, that really cinched this roster up a little bit. We still have some new non-designated injuries that have not been solidified yet. And that would be like Ahmed Hassanin and Morris Norris and even Tristan Colon. All 3 of those guys battling, some significant stuff that have not been put on a list yet. And I think that unless I've missed it, they're probably going to go on a list here in the next, coming days here. The roster is going to be cemented and done by Tuesday at 4 p.m. next week on August 26th. And at that point, I think we're going to see some guys on lists that aren't currently on lists now to make room for all of these guys. We have a very, like I said, deep and thin room at the same time. It's deep because we have a ton of guys. We have some really good football players. We have a lot of guys that played a lot of snaps last year that are vying, for some of these 4th, 5th, even potentially a 6th spot on the defensive line. But it's thin because some of our starters, right, that have played significant snaps are out. And some of our rookies are out. So a little bit longer video than I expected, but hey, it is what it is, man. You guys are great. Go One Pride, go Detroit Lions. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.